Are you sick of scrolling through Netflix and Hulu searching for movies that are high quality and family friendly? Christian Cinema has thousands of movies available on demand that you can watch anytime, anywhere. When you sign up for a giving membership, a premium offering from Christian Cinema, you can watch 5 free movies every month. Learn more about becoming a giving member at givingcompany.com/giving membership and start watching great movies today. The other side of the road is safe, where we sidestep being bothered and avoid getting involved. But rolling up your sleeves and boldly going where few dare to tread, that's walking through Samaria. Each week on our podcast, we introduce you to the special few who walk in the spirit of the Good Samaritan. On behalf of the Giving Company and your hosts, David Hendrickson and Dan Riveros, welcome to the Walking Through Samaria podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the Walking Through Samaria podcast. I'm your host, Dan Riveros, with my co-host,
David Hendrickson.
Back in the office.
Good to see you.
Still in the office.
It's a Friday.
It's a Friday. It's a little different than...
Which means there's like 3 of us here today.
Nice and quiet.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
In addition to our guest.
How you been, man?
So I took a COVID test this morning, Dan.
Well,
but I'm negative.
That's good. Let's throw a party.
Since we're, 6.5 feet apart.
Yeah, I think we'll be all right.
I'm negative. Yeah. So lingering, like cough, congestion, probably allergy related. I don't know. Anyway, but I'm doing fine.
I'll randomly know people that still catch it. I'm like, you still catching that?
I know, right? They're saying like, don't even test, but there's too much associated with me being in contact with people.
I just wouldn't want to get blamed for giving it to somebody.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So my daughter's going to a wedding in a couple weeks, so I could bring down the whole wedding. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Well, who do we got today, man?
So Dan, with all sincerity, our guest today is literally one of my most favorite people in the world. We have known each other at least 10 years, got to know each other when I was working for McKesson through Pam Pure, the CEO of the technology business at the time. And our guest is one of those people that everybody who knows him is glad that he is in their life. That is the deal. Link Forrester, welcome to the Walking Through Samaria podcast.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Great to be here, David.
You got a tan?
Yes.
You've been out and about?
Maybe a bit of a golfer's tan.
Yeah. Golf and lake.
A little bit of lake.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some
That's
floating
good.
in this hot.
It's not too much though. You apply a lot of facial creams and stuff like that. I read in the book. So you're taking care of yourself.
That's right. And back in the old days, you'd be in a bathing suit and that's it. But today, you cover the whole body.
That's right.
The big
you
hat,
got to lather up. Yeah.
And whole different feel.
Good. It's great to see you.
It's great
Thanks
to see you.
for coming in.
Thank you.
We're in person. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read your bio before we get started, and then we're going to have an absolute blast. So to all of our listeners, Link Forrester possesses a rare blend of humility, faith, and a good sense of humor, all of which have enabled him to grow through the trials of becoming a parent much earlier than planned, a risky career change, and the tragic death of a son. After graduating from Auburn University with a bachelor's in building construction in 1987, Link began his career in sales at IBM. 5 years later, he took a leap of faith into the financial services industry, where he continues to lead a thriving financial planning and wealth management business. A native of Atlanta, Georgia, Link is an avid golfer and member of Perimeter Church. He and his wife, Carla, spend much of their free time on Lake Lanier with their 3 children, 2 daughters-in-law, 3 grandchildren, as well as their dog Bailey, their cat Boots, and plenty of good wine. Link, again, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, man.
Glad to be here.
So, there's just so much to get started with. I do have to start with your 1987 graduating year, because that's the last year Indiana has won a national championship in basketball. It has been that long.
That's a good year.
I was a sophomore. It was a good year. 87 was a really good year.
Now that Auburn's become a basketball school,
that's right,
and we have the Pearl, that I have a whole new appreciation for college basketball.
College basketball, that's right. Well, one of the things that our listeners have probably already reacted to, because we do tend to talk a little bit about college athletics on this podcast, is the fact that you're an Auburn grad. You root for Auburn. I've seen you at Auburn games. Like, you're the real deal from a fan standpoint, but you've had 2 kids go to Georgia.
That's true.
You're a little bit more balanced maybe than
and
your typical Auburn fan.
The whole time I've had these 2 kids that went to Georgia, Georgia has just dominated Auburn. It's just been crushing. Just unbelievable.
Aren't you glad for them? Aren't you thankful?
Yes, kind of. A lot of my friends, they'll say, well, because I'll go to when they're not playing Auburn. I mean, I'll wear red and black, and my friends will say, "Link, how does it feel to wear that red and black on a Saturday afternoon?" And I sort of touch the shirt and say, it kind of feels like money.
There you go. That's right. That's right. Well, it's blue and orange, right? If you're wearing the other colors, so red and black's a good combo.
Hey, I'm a huge Hope Scholarship fan.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I hope all my grandchildren go to Georgia.
Well, to our listeners, you can probably tell Link and I have been good friends for a long time. We're going to cover as much material as we can from his new book, The Side Road, Finding Joy and Purpose Through the Twists and Turns of Life, which is going to release on July 26th, I think. Is that right?
July 26th.
So July 26th. So there's a lot to cover. So fasten your seatbelts and get ready because it's going to be wild. We're going to start at the top. So there was a time when I lived in Alpharetta, maybe 10 years ago, when two of my really close friends were named Heffy and Link. So we'll leave Heffy out of this in case he's listening, but you got to tell our listeners about your first name.
Yeah, Link is a family name.
Oh, so there you go.
But the problem is when you're a golfer, and I say that lightly, I'm sort of a club golfer. When you come in with the name Link, I mean, there's kind of some high expectation. It sounds like a golfer's name. It's like coming in with a visor or your name on the bag.
Yeah, yeah.
You're supposed to bring some game. So usually people are a little disappointed, but it is a last name. I'm a third.
Okay.
And we decided that we were going to end the Link tradition.
Third and final.
Because if you go to my golf course, where my dad has been a member there for many, many years as well, and you say, "Hey, I'm here to play golf with Link Forrester," they'll say, "Well, you going to play golf with Big Link or Little Link?" And we weren't sure.
Let me guess. Yeah, which one you are.
We weren't sure where the next one was going. So we took my mom's maiden name, Banks, and started a new tradition with unusual names. And so that's the Link story.
Good. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're going to have to just talk about Auburn a little bit more. So, our listeners forgive us for kind of going to, the less spiritual side of things for a little while. But I learned something in the book. I did not know you were a cheerleader at Auburn.
It's true.
And I think this is how you met your wife. But this ultimately led to what feels like one of the big the side road kind of decisions in your life.
Yeah, being a college cheerleader at Auburn
has
was
to be awesome, right?
Great. One of the best things that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Met my wife, and it's awesome. So, and we only break out the old unis on special occasions, and we kind of keep it a little private, but. Other than that,
I just picture the Will Ferrell, Saturday Night Live kind of remakes of cheerleading. So
yeah, it's a lot like that.
Yeah,
you got to be in amazing shape to do that stuff.
Back then,
it's no joke, right?
I was in a little better shape than I am today.
Okay,
but I don't think I could be throwing those girls around now like we used to back in the day.
So, as being a cheerleader in Auburn, you meet Carla. I think Carla was also a cheerleader, and things progress, and all of a sudden, you're faced with a big life decision. Tell our listeners about that.
Yeah, I mean, we for about 6 months, we spent every waking moment together, and after that, we were with child. So we had a big decision to make.
Yeah,
it was an easy decision for me because I knew Carla was the one. She kind of got a bit of the raw deal, but I mean. Kind of the hard close, so it was maybe a precursor to being a good salesman.
In reading the book, there was no other decision for you all than to start a family. And what I read in the book was actually this was a bit of a spiritual grounding kind of moment for the two of you.
It was. both of us grew up in faith-based families. Both of our parents are still married today and wonderful people, great family environment. But with most people, it's just sort of a time to take our parents' faith and make it our faith and figure out what is it we really believe.
Yeah. Because
clearly we needed to make some changes in our life for our new path to go well. And so far, so good. We're 35 years into it. She hasn't left me yet.
So my goddaughter just got married. Kelsey, if you're out there, and her dad was my fraternity brother in college, and similar to you and Carla, they got pregnant while still being students in college. And he talked about he and Julia, Kelsey's mom, when they wanted to go out on a date, and have somebody take care of Kelsey, they let other fraternity brothers take care of her. And he's like, I'm not sure I'd let those guys park my car, but they were the ones available to watch Kelsey when we needed to get out. So that was what they did, back in college.
They stepped up.
Good for you. That's awesome. Well, we're going to move to a more spiritual topic than Auburn University, for a minute. But one other thing that jumps out of your book, The Side Road, is Perimeter Church. And Randy Pope, who many people in Atlanta know. Randy Pope, certainly know the name. He's been really a big spiritual figure here in the Atlanta area for a long, long time. But talk about the role of Perimeter Church in your personal kind of faith journey as well as your family's.
Yeah, we first got introduced to the PCA when we lived in Orlando, and we went to Orangewood in Orlando. And so when we moved to Atlanta with IBM, going to Perimeter was just a natural fit. My parents were already going there. And yes, Randy and I have become pretty good friends over these 30 years that we've been at Perimeter.
Yeah.
Which is a lot to say because he's a big Alabama guy. And, and I'm obviously an Auburn fan.
This is a struggle. We have a lot of editing to do on this podcast, Dan. Holy smoke. Wow. Yeah. I didn't realize that. Alabama guy.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
And there's some funny Randy Pope stories in the book. So I hope y'all can enjoy them. Randy likes to play golf, and so that's been sort of a way for us to get to know each other better. And there are some funny stories about Randy in there.
That's awesome. I think you said, help me get this right, that Perimeter has a school.
They do.
And your kids went, maybe not all kids, but most kids went to Perimeter school and then went to public school for high school.
That's
something
right.
like that. Yeah.
That's right. Which is sort of their plan.
Yeah.
They want to keep these kids grounded, and then they want them to sort of experience a little bit of life while they're still under their parents' roof and before they head out to the real world.
Yeah. So what would your kids say about kind of their experience at Perimeter?
I'm sure it would be mixed a little bit, but I would say in general they're appreciative of the grounding of their faith, and all of our kids are pretty secure in what they believe, and that's and certainly Perimeter Church and Perimeter School were very helpful.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, we're talking to Link Forrester about his new book, The Side Road, Finding Joy and Purpose Through the Twists and Turns of Life. So I got an email from you and you said, hey, I wrote a book. I'm releasing a book and are you interested in maybe being a part of the launch team or the promotional effort? And I jumped at the opportunity because, without going too far into your story, because we're going to cover that later, but a few years ago, you and I were having lunch at Brookwood Grill in Roswell, Georgia. Is that what it's called? Brookwood Grill, right?
It is.
And I said, hey, have you ever kind of thought about telling your story? And at that time, you were like, no. So what finally got you to the point where you wanted to put pen to paper?
Well, I would probably still have had that same answer today. It's my son Cole. It's his fault.
All right.
As a matter of
Cole.
fact, about in chapter 5, I think I wrote a line that says, if you're powering through this book and you're not really loving it, it's Cole's fault, not mine.
There you go. Yep.
But Cole is in a bunch of communities. They have their own 501c3. So both his personal life and his work life, he's around people that have written books. And he has been on me for a few years now to write a book. And so he went so far to line up a bunch of meetings for me with like a ghostwriter, a writing coach.
Wow.
A company like, I think it's Script or Scribe, whatever it may be. But after that, I said, well, look, I don't even journal very well. Why don't I just see if I can do it? Let me just try to write some life stories.
Yeah.
So that's the way it started. I wrote some life stories. Then I said, well, if I was going to write a book, what would the chapter titles be? And then I took a life story, put it in a chapter, and went from there. And, you know, the truth is, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I wish I had more to write about. I mean, I'm out. That's it.
That's it. It's all here.
And it's like a long-term paper. I mean, on the back of the book, the publisher says it's an 82-minute read. So you can like test yourself if you're a fast reader or a slow reader.
Nice. So. Well, our listeners are probably getting a feel. The stories are incredible. You will laugh. You will cry. They're insightful. They're helpful. They're real. That's probably one of the things that I took away from the book. I don't know if I was over or under 82 minutes, but it's a fast read just because of how entertaining it is, how much readers will enjoy it. Another thing that I learned new from the book, outside of you being a cheerleader at Auburn, is we're going to go into the lake category now, is that Lake Keowee had a chance to be the lake destination for you and Carla. To our listeners, my wife and I have just been really fortunate to have a small cottage on Lake Keowee. It's in South Carolina. It's in a unique part of the country where South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia kind of all come together. So you can be sort of 30 minutes and hit 3 different states in this sort of area of Northeast Georgia. You and Carla visited Lake Keowee, but made the decision for Lake Lanier, I think for proximity reasons predominantly. But lake life has been super meaningful to you and your family. Tell our listeners a little bit about what that has meant to the Forrester clan.
Yeah, it's made all the difference in the world. I think our lake house is the best investment I ever made in family. But back to the story, we used to take our family to family camp at Camp Greenville. And we would drive right past Lake Keowee over the little area where it's sort of mountainous and then right there by the lake. And it's just so beautiful. And so we did go back there and look at property. And but ultimately, I never grew up boating, laking. Now, Carla grew up in Mobile, and water is a big part of that community. So she was more into it. So I said, baby, maybe we should buy a boat first and just
good
test
decision.
It out.
Yeah.
So we bought a boat, kept it on Lake Lanier for a few years. My wife thought they were going to have to take me to Boaters Anonymous because my afternoon would break open and I'd call her, all right, let's go to the lake, pack it up.
Yeah.
And so we did decide that we wanted to have the lake house closer to home, easier to get to. We have this little cabin-ish sort of house on Lake Lanier that we really haven't done much to in 20 years, but we absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's great for families, I think, because you're self-contained, right? So you gotta hang out, play games, break bread together. So you're together in kind of the small area, but then you have the activities of the water and that whole piece of it. But the other interesting thing is kind of your friends came along for the ride. Like your friends became neighbors and all bought on the lake, so it became a bigger deal.
It did. And one of my best friends now owns the house next door to me, and it's just become priceless. I mean,
that's awesome.
We sit around that fire pit some nights with some red wine, and we solve all the world's problems.
That's right. So at Lake Keowee, which is our lake, smaller than Lake Lanier, but pretty picturesque, like you said, a little bit closer to the mountains. There's features and benefits of either lake. We won't go into that now, but it would have been really fun to have you and Carla on Lake Keowee. Anyway, Lake Keowee is a Clemson lake. Like, there is no doubt about it. There are orange paws everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Clemson everywhere. There's few G's for Georgia, few South Carolina Gamecocks fans. but I had to ask my Clemson friends if they knew downtown Al Brown.
Brown.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
I'm like this guy sounds like a legend.
He is from Walhalla.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
South Carolina.
There you go. Right next door.
Right. That's right. You know, I don't really know how he got the name Downtown Al Brown.
We can guess because the downtown in Clemson is pretty small.
There you go.
There's a few things to do down there.
I think they're all sworn to secrecy.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
So downtown Al Brown. I'm going to be asking everybody now with a Clemson hat on or jersey on. Hey, do you know downtown Al Brown? I hear he's a legend. So let's talk about work for a second. You have some categories of the side road. You know, how you made family decisions, how you made life decisions, how you spend your time, your friends. I mean, there's a lot in the side road about making life meaningful and purposeful. Work is in there, right? Kind of money management, how you're going to do work-life balance. You made a significant job change from IBM, right, which is kind of the training ground for success in corporate world. I worked for GE for many years. It was very similar to insurance and wealth management, financial advising. That was a pretty gutsy decision. It sounds like, particularly at the time of your life. What I found so fascinating, you certainly at a younger age than I set up very specific kind of rules for how you wanted work to go, how you wanted it to fit within your life, where you wanted to live. I mean, you made a gutsy decision, but it was also consistent with these sort of principles or guardrails that you set up, one of which was living in the Southeast. You didn't want to live in the Northeast. Can you maybe play back how you made that decision and the significance of that decision really for the rest of your professional career?
Yeah, I think the first thing I think about is how certain people can just impact your life. So Dave Boucher, who hired me at IBM, great family friend, mentor, still a friend today. He's the one that said, all right, Link, you ready to come work for me at IBM? And there's a 1 year before IBM, I worked in the construction business. And I was thinking about the old tool belt days. And I said, Dave, just
whatever you got, I'm in.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
And I learned how to sell. I learned how to listen. I learned how to help business owners accomplish their goals. But I also learned something about the quota territory business. Someone's always managing your earnings. I remember this first year I had great clients and I went to my manager. I said, look, if you're going to pay me X to sell this many computers, if I sell 4 times X, are you going to pay me 4 times?
Simple math, right?
And they said, no, we're going to pay you 130% of your target earnings, blah, 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 blah. And that's the minute I knew that I was not going to be long for that business.
Gotcha.
Still loved it. Dave moved me to Atlanta. Back then, you'd go a marketing role, and then an in sales role, then a marketing management role. But the point is, I knew I wanted to do something different. So I made a list of everyone I knew that had cool jobs. And then I made a list of everything I wanted in a job. I didn't want anybody to manage my earnings. I wanted to sell something I was passionate about. I didn't want to travel. I want to live in the Southeast. So a handful of those things.
Yeah.
And then I met this next person that impacted my life, Bill Goodwin. And he convinced me that working was the answer to my list. And it has been. And it's been fun. We're 30 years into it. I'm sufficiently unqualified to do anything else.
Yeah.
So it's got to work.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, it's been great.
That's really fantastic. So Link is a better golfer than I am. I want our listeners to know that. He's funnier than I am. So he tells really good stories, as you'll learn from the side road. I'm hoping I might have one category where I can one-up you. I mean, we'll talk about Georgia Auburn record in a second, but let's not count that because I don't play football for Georgia. I didn't play football for Georgia.
I mean, you got me on the edge of my seat.
How many wine clubs do you belong to?
Not enough. Only 2 right now. So
4.
you're crushing me.
4.
Crushing me. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not the wine connoisseur that you are.
And how many trips to Napa or wine country?
Not enough, and we probably haven't.
I knew I'd find one, Dan.
We probably haven't been there lately. So it's time. We should just plan a trip together.
So when you're part of a wine club, do they just send you wine? Send you like exclusives?
They do. You get regular shipments and discounted pricing, and when you go out there, you get free tastings and a little bit of insight into how things go. And so it's literally one of my favorite hobbies. I think I've been to Napa close to 20 times.
Oh, wow!
And have to go once a year. It's kind of it's an incredible experience. I mean, even if you don't like wine, I think that part of the country, flying into San Francisco, kind of getting the vibe of the city, crossing the Golden Gate, going up into the mountains, seeing the vines. I mean, it's incredible. Food's incredible. People are incredible.
How long did it take you to develop the palate?
Probably still developing.
Yeah,
but
it's like a whole thing, right?
But yeah, I mean, my wife Rhonda will tell you this. I don't have a great sense of smell. So Rhonda can walk in a room and kind of know what candle's burning and if they have pets and kind of all that. I got none of that. So kind of pulling the notes out of a glass of wine is a little bit more difficult for me, but I definitely know, the good ones. So
when they bring you the wine, do you get charcuterie boards with it too?
Oh yeah.
That's my
yeah. I'll do a little shout out. When you cross the Golden Gate, you actually hit Sonoma before you hit Napa. And Domaine Caneros, which is the U.S. venture of Taittinger Champagne out of France, is like the best place to stop because it's really good champagne, good Pinot Noir, good charcuterie if you want it.
I love that stuff.
And you cross the threshold. You're in Napa Valley mode. You're kind of chilled out and relaxed after going to Domaine Caneros. So that's how we do it.
Goals.
Anyway.
You win.
Yeah. See, I knew there would be one, Dan. Nice. I knew there would be one. All right, so we've been chatting about cheerleader at Auburn, incredible wife Carla. You talk about outkicking your coverage, I think was the way you termed it in the book. Really successful career, great lake house, second house, good wine. Like, I'm sure our listeners are like, hey, this all sounds good. But I have to think one of the reasons you wrote the book and called it The Side Road is there are twists and turns that you don't expect and frankly that you don't want in life. In your case, and I remember this link like it was yesterday, in 2011, you and I are at Atlanta National Golf Club. We're on the 11th hole. I remember the hole. We're standing out in the middle of the fairway. So we had already played 10 and a half holes, 10 and a third holes, 10 and a fifth holes, depending on what you make on number 11, because it's a hard hole. And you just looked at me. Your eyes were a little bloodshot, a little red. And you said, I guess you haven't heard yet. And what came next, I was not expecting. Tell our listeners what I hadn't heard yet.
Yeah, we, our son Tyler passed away in 2011, so it's been almost 11 years now. And he was a student at Auburn, and you get that phone call that you just can't imagine. And we think, wow, I cannot believe this is happening to us. And it's a tough road that God decides to put you on. And we're on this road for the rest of our life.
Yeah.
And nothing will change. I mean, most things in life work out. But on occasion, things don't work out.
Yeah.
And losing Tyler is obviously the hardest thing we've ever had to go through. I would say as time goes on, the wound gets a little less bare, if you will.
Yeah.
But it's, not a day passes. I don't think about Tyler. I don't think about, hey, I wonder what he'd look like now. Would he be married? Would he have kids? But I learned, what I really learned Because Tyler was never ours.
Yeah.
Tyler's God's. The day God gave us, he knew exactly how many days Tyler had on this earth. And he took him home early.
Yeah.
And there'll be a day we'll see him again.
Yeah.
But I have to wait a little while.
Well, I think even at that time, you didn't have all the medical reports back yet. So you and I were playing golf, and you still, didn't have the full picture, the full story. And I remember some of the words you said. You said, David, Carla and I have a strong faith. We're committed to one another. I remember you saying we're on a road that we don't want to be on, and we'll never get off. And I think you kind of used those same words just now and in the book. But even back then, I felt like, I think Link's going to be okay. Like there was just your perspective so quickly. Because like I said, I don't think you even had all the medical reports back yet. Said, hey, it seems like I think he's going to be okay. I remember that being my reaction.
Well, I'm still here.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Those were tough days. Yeah. I think for your kids, Tyler's siblings, their life gets a little back to normal faster because they're in school, they have jobs, they're starting their life. But for you, this is, you can't change it. Your life is forever changed at that moment. I do think we were a little bit lucky that we weren't empty nesters at the time. We still had Caroline at home, and I think that it would have been harder if it was just the two of us. So that was a blessing. And but yeah, we're still here. We still worship a God that allows those kind of things to happen to you. And we often really love the sovereignty of God, and sometimes we don't like it.
Yeah.
But it's just the way it is.
Very wise. Very wise. Well, recently we were having lunch, and I think I was talking about, I don't know if Rhonda and I are going to stay in Atlanta forever. For us, Lake Keowee is probably becoming more and more the main home, and Atlanta's becoming a little bit less as time goes on, and we don't know where our kids are going to end up. And so I remember you're somebody that I like to get advice from and perspective from. And I remember saying, hey, Link, what do you think your golden years are going to look like? What do you think retirement is going to look like? And you looked right at me, a big smile, and you said, I'm living it right now. You said, I've got my son and his wife live across the street. I've got grandkids. Like, it doesn't get any better than this. I'm not going to change. I don't want to change this picture. And as I thought back on both of those conversations, I thought, how important is it to try to, fast forward, not speed life up, but go, hey, 10 years from now, I will be better. This will be better. My perspective will be different. But how do you maybe put those two conversations in place? Kind of 10 years apart, tragedy, but then you said, "Hey, I wouldn't change kind of where I'm at right now with my life. Like the life I'm living right now I want it to stay this way as long as possible."
Well, I definitely think grandchildren have sort of changed the dynamic. That was the next new thing, the new what's different.
Yeah.
Everything else before that was marked by Tyler's death. Nothing else would be the same. Nothing else would be quite as good. And then grandchildren come. Yeah. And I think that's been helpful. And people think I've been retired for years, so it's I love my life. I love working at Northwestern Mutual and On Point Wealth, and we have a great team. I have a great business partner, Wayne Moore, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
But having family, for us, life's about relationship, and family and friends and work. It's all right there.
Yeah.
So all is good for now.
That's really good. All right. So I have a little quiz. I have a quiz for you. I came up with this quiz as I was reading The Side Road. Next week, all of a sudden, your calendar completely clears. Like all your work responsibilities have cleared. Everybody cancels their meetings. I don't know what happens. You have unlimited hotel points and Delta Sky miles in your account. You have to pick from the following list what you're going to do with this week. Amalfi Coast in Italy, because you've been there and you said it's incredible. Golf at Pebble Beach. You've played more courses out there in Pebble than I can possibly imagine. Cabo, you said that's like the favorite destination for regular family vacations. Napa, with all your tastings being free. I threw that last part in extra. Or none of the above.
I mean, that's a tough question. I think it depends on the time of year.
Next week.
Next week.
Well, so next week it's super hot here, right? And so I would do none of the above and visit my buddy in Montana.
Oh, nice.
That's what I would do.
Montana popped up a few times in the book for sure.
Yeah, because it's cooler. And if it were the winter, I would choose probably Cabo. Or even we've been going to the Keys and Islamorada.
Nice. Yeah.
My friend has a home there, and he generously allows us to get the friends and family rate and stay at a beautiful place. But spring or fall, I think we should do that Napa run.
All right.
I think I'm in on that.
Nice. I can make that happen.
I like
for
that.
sure. Link has good friends, Dan. Like I feel like maybe we need to share some contacts with Link. So speaking of Montana, you told me a little bit about your skiing routine. It's something like do a run or two and then go to the Shake Shack or the
Sugar Shack.
Sugar Shack. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. My friends are like athletes. Like they'll take a day and snowshoe up the mountain.
That is one thing I will never do.
Without me and Carla.
Yeah.
And so, and they're really good skiers. And we're like, we love to ski and love to be out there. But we ski a few runs and then we stop.
Yeah.
And we do the same thing. And after about 5 or 6 of those, then we just go get in the hot tub.
That's right.
And that's
pretty good day. That's a pretty good day. Yeah. That's awesome. So this book, The Side Road, Finding Joy and Purpose Through the Twists and Turns of Life, is full of stories, much how you described how you put pen to paper and how this book came about. Family, friends, faith, finances, which I would put in the kind of the work category. I mean, travel, golf, lakes, all of that is the side road, right? Like, your whole life, you would say, is the side road?
Yeah, I think just being a follower of Jesus puts you on the side road. I mean, I think there's it's an easy club to join, but it's a hard life to live. It can be a lonely life. We're always performance driven, but Christianity is all about none of the performance is you.
Yeah.
It's all his performance.
Yeah.
And you need people to remind you of that. You need people to encourage you. And so, my side road is one of the most important things of the side road are my 5 closest friends that we've been meeting together for the last 30 years.
That's good.
Every Friday. And to call it a Bible study is sort of loose terms these days, but they're my guys.
Yeah.
And you need that in life to journey well. And yes, sometimes the side road has tragedy.
Yeah.
I mean, rarely does God put us on this earth to just live comfortably and die, right? There are things on the road that cause us to pause, that cause us to think, wow, what is happening to me? And yes, that is the side road. So it is all of that.
Yeah, that's good. Well, as we wind down, I want to share some specifics from the book, if you don't mind. Not too much, because we need people to go out there and buy
Remember, it's only
copies.
82-minute reads.
That's
so
right.
if you tell too many stories, you're going to catch a lot of it.
But before we do that, do you know the football record between Georgia and Auburn all time? Do you know the series record?
I do not. I know the last 12 games, it's 10-2.
It is, yeah.
And it's rough.
It is. 62, 56, and 8 ties in favor of the Dogs. It's pretty close. That's a good rivalry. That's a good rivalry.
It feels a lot closer when you look at that number than I think of my experience the last 12 years.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel close at all.
It can swing. All right. With your permission, I want to read the last 2 paragraphs of the book. You okay with that?
I'm okay with it.
All right. And I'm gonna try to hang in there because I've known Link for a long time. And anyway, here we go. So these are the last 2 paragraphs. These are gonna cause all of our listeners to rush out and on July 26th buy their copy of The Side Road. This is you speaking. Well, you made it to the end. The journey has been about facing challenges, choosing a different path, and faith, family, friends, finances, and fitness. It's been a memoir with moments of inspiration sprinkled in, and hopefully you found the stories entertaining and humorous. I never thought I would write a book, but it was a little easier than expected. Thank you for taking the time to read about my life on the side road. I'm sure there are many things I forgot to talk about or people in my life I forgot to mention, so please forgive me for that. My wife and mother-in-law want to write the sequel and give a different perspective to many of the stories in the book. They want to call it What Really Happened, or maybe the real story. My hope is that you find purpose and joy in life regardless of your current circumstances, and more importantly, you have confidence in your future after your time here on earth. There will be a day when I will see Tyler again, and there will be a day for all of us when the struggles of this life will be no more. That will be when the fun really begins. Now, you're one of the funnest people I know. You tell a story about coming out of your colonoscopy procedure and you're unbeknownst to you, you're telling a joke to the nurse and she goes and grabs Carla to like kind of break the whole thing up. But could you maybe give a little nugget of advice to our listeners that kind of reflect those last 2 paragraphs?
Yeah, I think that Randy Pope has this a sermon. It's my favorite title to a sermon. It's Cheer Up, You're Worse Than You Think You Are. And I think for all of us, we just to recognize, as long as we're here on earth, we're never going to be who we want to be. Mm. Even if things are going well, you think, well, what about my thought life? What am I thinking about? And what's so awesome about life is we have a God that loves us just the way we are. And he wants a relationship with us. And so I say, just relax, just be. It's okay. Sometimes you'll do good things. We're all going to do bad things for a long time, as long as we're here. And let's just be quick to forgive ourselves. Let's be quick to forgive others around us and just be thankful for whose we are.
That's great. Well, as we wrap up, we've talked a lot about Randy Pope, and I do want our listeners to hear what he writes about the side road. He writes, every once in a while, you run across a book that you finish reading and think, that was absolutely refreshing. And such was the case with the side road. In this book, you will find a refreshing glimpse of life that is real, simple, and attractive. Link opens the doors of his life, giving all a peek into what it means to have faith in the midst of everyday life, including the pain of losing a child. I've known Link very well for many, many years and can say that with Link, what you see is what you get. Whether you know Link or not, you are in for a delightful, inspiring, and interesting read. So please tell our listeners, how in the world can they get their hands on this book come July 26th? Where can they find it?
Well, even now, you can go to barnesandnoble.com. You can pre-order the book. Publishers love pre-orders. And then after July 26th, you can order the book anywhere you get books. So anywhere books are sold, you'll be able to purchase The Side Road.
Nice. So last thing, how do people, if they want to find out more about you personally, how can they find you, follow you online? Where can you be discovered?
The easiest place is our website, linkforresterauthor.com.
Awesome. linkforresterauthor.com. Well, Link, that was a treat, an absolute treat. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and being on the Walking Through Samaria podcast. To all of our listeners, one more time, the book is called The Side Road, Finding Joy and Purpose Through the Twists and Turns of Life, from my good friend who swore that he would never do this, Link Forrester. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, man. All right, everybody, you heard it, July 26th.
July 26th.
Available for pre-order now. Thank you for joining us on the Walking Through Samaria podcast. I'm your host, Dan Rivera, with my co-host,
David Hendrickson.
And our wonderful guest, Link. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
talk to you next time, everyone.
For more content like this, visit us at givingcompany.com. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Walking Through Samaria.